Okay, good morning, everybody. And today's Coffee and Questions, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the Harbor Freight tap and die sets that they sell, the ones that are made by Pittsburgh. And are they any good? Well, to start off, it gets 4.5-star review. That's pretty good. I mean, it seems a lot of people really think a lot of these. So we decided to do a little bit of a review on this. Now, what I own is I own a Snap-on tool set. It's an outstanding set. I picked it up at an estate sale. I got it incredibly cheap. And it's been a great set. I mean, there's no doubt that Snap-on Tools makes superior tools over a lot of people. But this is also a good set. And so we'll talk about some of the differences and stuff as I go forward. I had a friend of mine, he bought the first set. I think he got it online and he used his 20% off coupon. Now this says $84.99. And I think he told me he picked it up for $65, $68 shipped to his doorstep. And he bought the first set, like I said, was an SAE set. And he's going to turn around and buy the metric set. But he wanted to buy one set at a time. So what he did is he bought one set, he bought the SAE set, and then he's going to buy the metric set next. So he wanted to buy one set at a time because he wanted to make sure he was getting a good quality tool before he actually spent twice the money. I'm going to change the picture. We'll get right into the coffee and questions. Here we go. Okay, now this is a little bit better picture that I pulled off of the web. This is what the set looks like, you know, when it comes and you pull it out of the box, which, you know, it's irritating in some of the videos where somebody spends like several minutes doing an unboxing. So just take it out of the bloody box. Anyway, it has this plastic case here, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so anyway, with Harbor Freight, you either love them or you hate them, I guess. I mean, you know, one way or the other, and people have good experiences with some of the tools they buy and not such good experiences with other tools. This is a nice set, and we'll go over the reasons why. One of the first reasons why is if you need a tap and die set, you're not really going to beat the price, you know, for what it is. It's a nice set for the 60 some odd dollars. Is it the best set? No, but, you know, look, this is very adequate. I mean, I used it, he brought it over, you know, we did a couple of threadings, and this thing cut beautifully. And one of the things that I noticed when we were using it is this plastic carrying case, which makes it kind of nice. They do fit in there. They fit in there a little loose, okay, but it's a nice thick, you know, plastic carrying case, which I like because when I put stuff in there and I close it up, I can set it up on a shelf and things aren't scattered laying all over the place. So it's just a plastic molded case, but it's a very adequate case. And they are titanium nitride coated. I mean, that's another benefit. It gives it that additional strength. And one of the things that I really liked about this set is the handles for both the tap and the die. These things are huge. They're solidly made. I have other sets, and I'm not talking about the Snap-on set. The Snap-on set I have has good handles also, but this has really good handles with it. And I've had the ones in the past, like this little one above the fingers here. I mean, and I've had some of the smaller handles. I've had nothing but trouble with them. I mean, I either broke them or, you know, they just cheap junk. But these are actually very durable handles. I really like these. I like the grip on them. When he brought the set over, I said, well, one of the things right off of the bat, I really like the tap and die handles on this. So one of the questions was, is do they just make the SAEs? No, they make SAE and they make metric, but there's two different sets, like I said in the beginning. So the SAE set's probably the one that you're going to use the most. The metric's nice to have around because if you're a mechanic or a technician or somebody, you're going to run into those odd circumstances where you're going to wish that you had the metric set. And like I said, for the price, you can buy it at two different times. You'll still get the same 20% off. So it's a pretty good deal, I mean, if you want to add it to your tool collection. Now, I don't know if it's true or not. I haven't looked into it that deeply, but somebody said, well, they don't really discuss the size of the threads on any of these and in any detail. How do you know what you're buying? Well, I went ahead and I took a look at his when he came over and I jotted down some notes. Now, let's talk about the SAE set for a second. You've got coarse threads here on the bottom on these taps, and you have fine threads. Okay, so the coarse is where his hand is, the fine is above it. So the coarse threads run from 1/4 by 20 up to 1 by 8. Now the fine threaded ones run 1/4 by 28 up to 1 by 14. Okay, now the dies are the same. And it didn't make a lot of sense. Well, let me explain it a little bit if I can. When you're reading these, if it says NPT on them, that means National Pipe Thread. And if it says NF, it means National Fine. Okay, now the 7/8, let's take as an example. It says 7/8 NF14. That means that that tap is 7/8 in diameter, and it has 14 threads per inch. And the same thing applies to the die set. So, I mean, if you're having trouble reading them, I mean, that's just kind of what it means. So I know it doesn't show well in the picture, but that's the best explanation I can give you on what those markings actually mean. Why do I hate the little, tap wrenches so much? You never can really get the leverage that you want on them. I mean, when you're trying to thread something, it just, I don't know, I just don't like them. I mean, it's a lot better you put them in these bigger handle ones where you've got a much better grip and you have much better leverage. You just have to be careful and know what you're doing as you're going so you don't snap them off and break them. But I mean, the leverage is just so much better. And I'll show you a way towards the end of the video that'll help you out a great deal on keeping things in alignment and threading. But that's the reason why I say I don't really like the little ones that much. Not even in this set do I really like the little one. But the big ones, yeah, the big ones are nice in this set. Okay, somebody had added a comment onto the forum that a place called KB makes a tap and die wrench that's actually ratcheting like a ratchet would. And they said it's, incredibly durable. It fits all taps and they make them for a die set too. Okay, I don't know anything about KB. I mean, if that's true, I think that's great. But I'm just referring to this set that's, made by Harbor Freight. It is a good set for what it is. But, okay, thanks for the information on KB. Okay, somebody said, well, when I use the threading tools, I have a little bit of difficulty, even when I squirt them down with WD-40. I wouldn't use WD-40 if you don't have, tapping oil, which people seem to think they got to run out and buy it. But look, you're not running a machine shop or anything like that, and I don't think you need, specific tapping oil. The bottom line really is you could just use motor oil. It works fine, okay? If you have 3-in-1 oil or some other real oil sitting around, that's fine. I would not use WD-40. I mean, WD-40 is water displacement. And I did a whole video on how they formulated WD-40, but it has some lubricating properties, yes, but better lubricating properties, use motor oil. It works perfectly fine. Okay, let me change the video. We'll have a discussion about some tips, tricks, and some ways that, you can benefit from the mistakes I've made in the past and learn from. And I'll throw up pictures that I found on the web and we'll have a quick discussion about those. Give me just a sec. Okay, I put up some pictures here as a reference, and you can see where there's really 3 different types when it comes to, the threading part of this. Like if you're threading a piece of steel, you have the taper, the plug, and then the bottom. These are all taps. Okay, so most people will stick with the plug type, and that's the most standard, the most commonly used. And what works for me is, yes, I have the plug type, which is also tapered. After I've drilled the hole, I start going through it that way. And I can take this and I'll go all the way through the hole, but I'm not going through, 1-inch thick material and stuff. A lot of times I'm going through a lot of thinner material. Now, that's if I'm going all the way through the hole. If I'm not going all the way through the hole, I'll go down a ways with this plug, and I'll back it off. And you don't want to over tighten this. I mean, as you go down, a couple of turns, you want to stop and then back it off. You'll hear a small click, and that's when it, knocks the chip free inside of what you're doing. And then you turn around and you've got this thing oiled up, and you can go and advance it a few more turns and then back it off. You'll hear the click. That's the chip that's, breaking free inside as this thing's threading its way down. Now, take a look in the picture that's in the middle here, and you're going to see where the plug one went down and it stopped. And it makes like a little reservoir for like chip collection. So that's pretty good. But these are the ones that you want to be careful about, the standard ones. You don't over tighten these in a hole. Now, if the hole was to stop and not go all the way through the metal, if I had it, I would, it depends, because I mean, I've got different taps and dies. I would use the one that's got like, that flat bottom over here. And you can see, the kind of hole that it would produce, which is right above it. And like I said, as you tighten these and you go down, every turn or so, back it off just a little bit, maybe like a quarter turn, you'll hear that little click, and that's that little chip clearing in there. And like I said, I use a combination of these two. But if I've drilled the hole, like let's say I have a railroad spike and I want to thread it to make a knob, okay, and I got it in my vise, I mean, I can use one of the plug types, and I actually start going down, and I just take my time. I go down a little bit, I back it off, I go down a little bit, I back it off, until, and I clear it out occasionally if I have to, until I get it to the depth that I want, and I call it done. Like I said, I mean, I'm just doing handyman type work. So that's what works for me. I also have some of these bottom type. I'm usually, if I'm going to go into it, like, if I'm going real deep, like let's say into a railroad spike, something like that, I might switch over and I might use the bottoming type. I'm just careful about what I'm doing and I take my time. So I don't know, it works for me that way. You can watch plenty of YouTube videos on other methods, of doing the tapping, but anyway, that's how I do it. So the ones that are not tapered, like you all the way over here, that's the one like you would run all the way through a piece of metal and out the other end. And then the plug one is, for what they call plug tapping, where you're not going all the way through, that piece of metal. But, I use them both ways. I know that I just explained to you the absolute correct way, but, I use what I have, and I've always managed to make them work. I just take care of them, and I haven't had a problem with them. So somebody said, well, what happens if you break one? Well, it's got a limited lifetime warranty. You can take it back, and, you get another set. You got to take the whole set back. What I did in the past is there is some small ones that I have broken, that I've bought that weren't, included in the set, some real small ones. And so, yeah, I did break them. I just simply went and bought another one from down at True Value or wherever it was. And it's a lot easier and faster, and I don't want to return the whole set. So, I didn't worry about it. Okay, you could do the same thing with this set too. Okay, so I did tell you I'd show you a little bit of a trick, or a little bit of a tip here. Now in the shop, when you've got your hole drilled and you got it in the vise, sometimes it's hard when you start with these taps to keep things perfectly straight up and down, to get that perfect alignment to start your turning, of this threading. Okay, so go over and put it in your drill press, just like I show you right here in the picture. And then I'm going to show you what to do next. Here I have my tap in the drill press coming down into that hole, and here's what we do next. Okay, take a close look. You're going to see where I use that chuck key on the handle, and I put it into the chuck, and you start to turn it by hand. Okay, don't turn the power on. Just start to turn it by hand. Your drill press, your machinist vise, is going to hold this metal nice and tight. The drill press comes down that chuck. It's going to keep it in perfect alignment. And then just slip that in and start turning it by hand. But you're going to do it the same way. You're going to turn it a little bit, then you're going to back it off a little bit till you hear that click. Turn it a little bit more, hear the click, use some motor oil, and this will work perfect. Okay, I've done this over and over and over. It keeps things in perfect alignment. It works beautifully. Somebody said, well, do you ever put, these threading bits, these taps and so forth, you ever put them in a drill or a drill press or anything like that? No, I don't. I do it all by hand. I don't have any actual machinery for doing taps and die work and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm not a machinist. I don't have a shop set up like that. Anything that I do in the way of taps and dies and stuff, it's all done by hand. And that's the reason why I said, the set's, really good, because it's got incredibly, nice handles in it. And the other ones, like I said, I've always found to be junk. Now, this is another way, of substituting, for that handle. And all you have to do is, just simply put your tapping bit, up into that Jacob's chuck on your drill press, bring it down, and go to town. There you go. I know that this has been kind of a sketchy kind of a video for me to do, because I'm not an expert in the field of, taps and dies. I have used them. I've used them frequently, and I know it works for me. I hope that I passed along some tips to you, and I give this set, a 2 thumbs up. It's a damn good set for the price. Not the best one out there, but it's a good set for the price. Well worth the 60 some odd dollars. I would encourage you also, to watch some other YouTube videos. There's people out there that have a lot more experience and expertise than I do on using the taps and dies. I can just tell you, I didn't run out and buy all of these different threading bits, to do the work that I need to do. I seem to be able to use what I have, which is what comes in these sets, without, buying all these. I understand that there's a perfectly exact way of doing it, but I'm also one that doesn't want to just go out and willy-nilly start buying and accumulating a whole bunch of taps and dies just because of, what somebody said. This is how I make it work. This is how it works for me. Somebody I'm sure out there has got more experience than me. Feel free to drop a comment if you've got a better suggestion. Right, I want to thank you folks. I want everybody to have a great day. I'm the Home Handyman. I hope you click subscribe and you keep following me. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.